First, I'd like to talk quickly how to create a basic material in Twinmotion. Assume you already have some basic knowledge in Unreal. You should have some basic knowledge about material in Twinmotion, right? And when you bring the material in, Twinmotion carry in through the content library. But here, I'd like to talk more how to create by yourself if you want to have a customized material. The first thing I would recommend is create a folder because it's very important to organize your work. So you can give this folder name material, TM, or whatever name later you can recognize. Also, I recommend you can set a color for your folder, so in the future it's easy you can identify. It's just my way because sometimes you have hundreds of folders. It's good to have color code. Right? So right now it's an empty folder. I'm go ahead create a new material. So the quick way to do that is just as simple as right click. Then you can have a material. Right? If you don't have this option, you can go to actually material folder, and here you can create a basic material. Okay, so let's do that first. Material. So I can give a name TM1. No, that's important. So that's your material. Okay. So now if I double click, I can see this is a basic feature about material. It's the same for all other 3D rendering program. You have different channels, different color control, transparency control. So maybe the first thing I want to do is create something like a break, right? Or something like a texture I can apply. So the quick way to add a texture node is using the keyboard. If you're using T in texture, and then left click at the same time, you create this texture node. Right? T, left click at the same time. And then I can just simply link RGB color to the base color. That's it. Right? That's how you apply an image to a material. But now, you see the image right now is nothing there yet, right? So you have to identify where is that two-dimension texture image. So one way you can do this is you can bring a Photoshop, you can create an image in Photoshop. You can drag it into the content browser. It automatically creates the texture image. Or if here's the properties. If you click, here's actually a long list of available two-dimension textures in this project. So if you already have something, you can definitely just simply use it. Okay. So for me, since I want to create a break, right? And I know Twinmotion library already have maybe hundreds of breaks already. So it's not really make any sense to create a new one, right, from scratch in Photoshop. So what I will do is, let me docking this window first. I will go ahead find a break image. By the way, to docking, just drag and drop to the top. So I will find the break image in the Twinmotion library. Okay. So if you recall Twinmotion library, I have to just simply find the object already, come from Twinmotion, right? And here in the material, if you go to browse, this tiny button here, you can basically open up the Twinmotion content library you installed. Okay. Another way you can do is in the browse, if you recall. Oh, this is from the starter content. Trying to find one. If you go to, I'm trying to find a library I installed. Okay, that library is here. In the setting, you have to turn on the, what's the name of it? Engine content, yes. Okay, you have to turn on the engine content. And also you have to turn on the plugin content. The reason is the Twinmotion library is installed, right, as a plugin. So by default, these two options are off. So you have to turn it on. Then you should be able to see in the plugins, right, you have Twinmotion. Yeah, this is a pretty big library, so you have to find it. So this is the Twinmotion content folder. Double click. In the library, you can see hundreds, thousands of files, right, relate to Twinmotion. I think you already know probably this is the benefit, right, to bring in the Twinmotion. I want to find something called break. What is the best way? Let's see. This is the materials, but I want to find something like a texture. Maybe I would just type the name break. That's the easier way. Well, there are some breaks here. It's not very good. I think I saw a better break somewhere. Well, this is actually a better one. So if I open this guy and browse, oh, it's here. It's directly under the material. There's a folder called break. And here is for many breaks. But anyway, I mean, this is just a lazy way. I'll try to get some break texture. In our case, if you want to really bring in a Photoshop, it's not that difficult. So for me, I really like this right break, right? So I will just simply click to select this right break, which is under Engine, Plugins, Twinmotion Content, Library, Material, Break, Maps. It's a super long path, but it's consistent. Once you install the plugin, it's always there, right, under the C drive. So what I will do is make sure this one is selected. Then you go back to the material I just created, right? And here is a texture sample. Right now is empty. So I just need to click this tiny load button. This is called use selected asset from the content browser. So if I just simply click, maybe I lost my selection. Oh, sorry, I clicked the wrong one. It should be this. Why didn't give me this? Oh, this is subsurface profile. Material. Yep, let me see if I type T. Click. Yeah, here's the easier way. If you have that one selected, you just press T and the left button together. It automatically creates a texture setting for you. Plus, that image is automatically loaded. Yeah, that's nice. By the way, I think the location you can load is called Material Expression Texture Base. That is one of the settings in the property. So here, if you click load button, is the same thing. Okay, so there are many ways in Unreal you can create a texture node. You can either load directly here as a texture, or you can press T and then left click. Okay, so I'm done with this material. Then I save it. Right, this TM1 is a break material. Simple like that. Then you have to save it. Then to apply this material to an object, you can just simply drag and drop. So for example, I have this wall, drag and drop, you have the break. Cool. All right, so that's the whole process, how to do the basic material from scratch, right, in Unreal. The next thing I like to talk quickly is how to swap two materials. So imagine you have this wall with bricks, but I want to swap to a maybe LED screen, right, or something different. This is no difference from the technique I covered from last class. You need to do this through Blueprint in Level. So here I will go ahead, open Blueprint. Okay, I will Blueprint, and I will do something from scratch. Okay, so imagine you want to have maybe a trigger box really close to the wall. So when the character step on top of it, it will trigger the swap. Okay, so I will do first is create a basic maybe cube. I make this cube here just as a visual, so I know where I can step. And then I will go ahead create a trigger box. Okay, so trigger box you can basically, let's do this first. Place actor panels. Turn on this, and here I can just type trigger box. Okay, so here it is. I can just drag and drop. All right, so I create this trigger box right here. So the character step on, there's something gonna happen, right? So let me rename this trigger box to break wall. Right, it's a good idea. You always have a name for it. So it's a break wall. Then I will go ahead, open my level blueprint. Right, I will do some scripting for this break wall. So first, make sure you select the trigger box break wall. Right, this is the name. Then here, I will do exactly the same as the lighting control. So right-click, add event, collisions. I will add a beginning overlap. So this is the first. Then I will redo this collision to end overlap. Right, so I have two triggers based on this trigger box. This is the name of the trigger box. And then I'm gonna swap the material. So first, you need to click the wall. Right? This is the one I wanna actually control. So the wall name is a wall 40 by 20. That's okay. So here, back to the level blueprint, I will right-click, create a reference. Right? So this is just like Grasshopper. You bring in the wall into the script. Then I'm go ahead to set material. Okay. When you set material, you have to set a static mesh component. It's a long story. In Unreal, there are many different type of object. There's actor, characters, sound, all kinds of objects. Static mesh is the basic one, which allow you to apply the actions directly to this geometry. So set material with skeleton mesh. Right? It's automatically convert this into the right format. You don't have to worry. So it's treating the wall as a static mesh, as a target. Then here you can swap the material, right? So I know right now my material is a TM1, which is a brick, but I want to swap to something else, right? You can use whatever default here, maybe just a blue color. You can also in the future create your own material, right? So you can swap directly here. Then you just need to trigger it, right? So I would say when you step on top, so this is the trigger for the action. This wall will switch material to this blue color, right? And I will copy paste this, Control C, Control V. So this one also goes to target. So when you step out from the trigger box, you're gonna change the material back to TM1. So I can type TM1 here. So it's under dash. Yeah. So it's going back to the break wall. Make sense? So that's a super simple logic using a trigger box to swap the material. So let's compile, save, then let's play. Let's see if this works. So here, if I see this is the brick wall, right? And if I step on top, yeah, the wall became blue. That makes sense. If I step out, the wall back to the brick. Right? So this is a super simple interaction in Unreal. You can program to allow people experience your design. So maybe one version is, I don't know, a smart wall system, right, or smart lighting system. You can control the interactions through this trigger box. I think that's it about how to create basic material, how to swap. Hope it's straightforward. Okay. So let me stop recording. If you bring a material from Twinmotion, what you can do, right, to customize in Unreal. So for instance, these branches, the leaves, this is from Twinmotion. So if I select the tree actually has multiple elements, trunks, leaves, they belong to different subgroup. So they all have a different material. By the way, I should mention this. In the script I just covered before, this is element index. By default is a 0 because most of the static mesh only have one object or one geometry. But in the case of the tree, right, you have multiple. Right? So if you do the coding with Blueprint, just make sure the element ID, element number, you should somehow be aware. So in some case, you want to change this to 1 or 2, right? Depends on the subgroup. All right, so back to the topic. If you want to have a customized for the material, so first thing, this is a tree, right, the green leaf. If I really double click this, you can open this material. This material has slightly different hierarchy than the one I just created. So this one has a more smart parameters. It allows you to customize the texture directly here. So for instance, if you have a new color for the tree or for the leaves, if you want to swap, right, to the current one, you just create in Photoshop, bring in as a texture, then you click this button. You can load a new texture to replace the current one. That makes sense? Usually, I do not recommend to do this because it would be a good idea to keep everything untouched. If you really want to customize, go to Browse. I would make a duplication first, right? So I will say duplicate, and I gave this my name. I think it's leaf TM, right? Whatever name makes sense. So leaf TM is my own version. I'm not messing up the default library. So the leaf TM, I double click. I can play with these settings. I can load to a completely different texture. I don't know, maybe this, without worry, is gonna ruin the rest. Yeah, so this is basically the way. And you can play with this without worry about the risk. So once you're happy with the result, right, then you can apply this material to the tree. So that's how you customize. In the future, I think I have tons of tutorials on material. If you really want to dive into, you probably want to go to those tutorials. One covered what is the parent material means. In Twinmotion, it's all come in with a parent. So for this parent, if I double click, it has this actual script to control the logic. Yeah, so it could be pretty complicated if you really want to control all the parameters. All right, so that is about Twinmotion material. Yeah, feel free to play with it. They all have some kind of parent-children relationship.